Welcome back for another episode of Thinking That Matters. I'm your host, Elizabeth Mahusai, and I am here with my dear friend, Rita Townsend. So thank you, Rita, for saying yes to being my guest today. Please tell my audience a little bit about who you are, what you do. Give us the Rita that I know and love.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm a sales director in Mary Kay. I've been in Mary Kay for 15 years. I'm passionate about teaching skincare, color cosmetics. I do body care and self-care. I have an in-home studio. I call it my Beautiful Warrior Studio. I started that this year after a 14-year dream. But I really want it to be an experience where people can come, they can address skin issues, learn about skincare, healthy skincare. Our products are made in a clean, healthy way with European standards. I have celiac, so I have a lot of allergies, so I'm really sensitive to my clients with allergies. I teach them how to do their makeup, how to sit up a little straighter, whether it's, more makeup for a professional look, or they just, they're an everyday mom at home, but they want to do 5 minutes for themselves. And so I really love to just educate and help women to feel beautiful. And I really help men and teens with their skin as well. And so I can do one-on-one appointments or I see groups as well. But prior to Mary Kay, I actually was a U.S. Marine. I worked on avionic electronics, F-18s, Harriers, very different life back in 2000. And then
I'm thinking you probably weren't thinking much about makeup then.
No, I actually had acne scars. I had really bad skin. I never learned about taking care of my skin. So I was 29 when I was first introduced to Mary Kay products. And at the time, I was doing 4 jobs, doing medical massage and personal training after a spinal injury in the Marines. I got out and I started studying nutrition, studying self-care, exercise, fitness, rehabilitation. And I really I started designing a lot of things for myself and realized there's a lot of people out there that have pain and issues. They turn to medications and things. And I was able to wean myself off of 6 different drugs at the age of 20, wearing a back brace, not knowing my future. And then through this challenge, God actually presented to me that I could help others through what I had overcome by teaching myself. And so that's what got me into the medical massage, personal training. But after doing that, I started having a lot of other health issues that were undiagnosed. I have celiac and autoimmune issues. I have a blood disorder, a lot of different things that are challenging that require a lot of discipline, a lot of rest, and a lot of things I had to navigate. So when my friend was starting Mary Kay, she's like, let me borrow your face to practice the products. I said, well, I have acne, all over my face, and I don't wear makeup. I'm always around men. So I wasn't around women. I knew 4 women that were clients, and they were all over the age of 50. And here I was, early 20s with 2 little kids and health issues, and my spouse worked 3rd shift. So, I was kind of a one-woman show. So the idea of even getting together with her seemed crazy. But when I tried the products one time, the next morning, the texture was different to my skin, and I realized how good it felt because my skin was it felt different, it looked different, and I was really excited to go to work that day because I felt better. And so I was like, well, maybe there's something into the self-care thing. And I got some of the products. She thought I'd be great at Mary Kay. I told her, I said, girl, I've got 4 jobs. I don't have time. I wouldn't do Mary Kay even if I was on the side of the road starving. But I'll be a great customer. And I think we have to believe in something before we can really turn it into a career or a lifestyle. And so I couldn't imagine selling something that I wasn't sure I believed in. But when I started using the products and really seeing the benefits myself, not just the outside, but what it did to the inside, how I started to have a little bit more self-worth and value. And I got excited to take 2 minutes to take care of myself in the morning because I was pouring it out all day. For 7 days a week, I was working all my jobs. And when I decided to join for my discount, I told my director I wasn't going to sell. And I still don't. After 15 years, I do not sell. I think listening, finding the need and filling it wherever God presents it, I think that's my calling, is to really find the need and fill it. And if it's a product or whatever, that's the vehicle. It allows me to get in front of people and for them to feel seen.
So obviously you're very passionate about your Mary Kay business, and you're passionate about serving your clients. I get to observe you in that role ever since you moved to Texas. So you're passionate about many things, right? But if you were to boil it down and try to pinpoint the I'm passionate about, like, what is that for you?
I'm passionate about giving people hope. Because I think as long as we have hope, we can survive. I spent many years of my life in my childhood and then my earlier years, and even in my young adult years, there was chaos, there was negativity, there was some traumatic things. There was a lot of different things that happened, but I always knew whose I was. I was raised in church as a young child, and I was thankful that my great aunt, I would go to her house in the summers for a week during revival in Georgia, Southern Baptist, you name it, it happened. It was amazing, but it gave me a look at what it looked like to cling to something that you can't see, but that keeps you going. And, we can go without food, we can go without water, we can't go out without air, and we can't go a minute without hope. And I think, no matter what year you look at, there's a lot of people that are always looking for that. We try to fill our life with products and services and people and, outings and all these different things to try and fill us up. But if we start to lose hope, those things don't matter.
Yeah, it's so true. And that, I think the absence of hope. So let's just talk about that for a moment. What do you believe is underneath this growing void of hope in people?
I think people forget who they belong to. I think it's important we try to be in control because we, especially depending on personality styles, people need to see the evidence. They need to see something exists or something is happening. And so it's easy to stop being peaceful, stop praying, stop believing, because right now I'm looking at something that may be scary. There's a lot of things people are seeing, whether it's on social media, in their home, in their life. Maybe their business doesn't look the way they want it to look. And so they're taking that as evidence of where they're going and what's happening, and they're losing control. But I think once you surrender that you're not in control, once you surrender, I truly believe, this is just my belief, that God is in control. I've always known that he's at the end and he's for me. If you know that the Creator is at the end and he's for you, everything else is going to work out.
Love that. Yeah,
and that is a journey. I am in my 40s, but I will tell you that was a journey for me to be able to surrender that control, especially from being in the military where you're in control of every single thing that you say and do and how you act. And it's ingrained in you that you are the control component. And to suddenly go from that to surrendering your day, your time, what happens with your kids, what's even happening in your body with your health, and knowing that he's at the end and he's for me. And everything else I have to believe is going to be for me. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. But that was a journey for me.
Yeah, that's, that journey of getting to that place of being able to shift the mindset from I have to be in control to yielding control is a difficult one. And a lot of people, I think, would potentially hear you today and go, well, that sounds really good for you, but that doesn't work. That's not going to work for me. So I would love for you to share a couple of just practical tips or action steps you have taken to help you really release control and to remind yourself whose you are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think whatever we're feeding ourselves is what grows. And I had to look at my activities. When I wake up in the morning, let's just say 5 years ago, I'd get up 5 a.m., I'd go work out, have my, energy drink, protein drink. I'd look at my schedule. I'd look at my calendar. Okay, this is what I'm doing all day. And I would prepare the night before. My clothes were laid out. My bags were packed. Everything was ready. So I would wake up and step into what I was doing. I felt like I was in complete control. I'm a great time blocker, a great time manager. And then something would cancel or things would not happen the way that I had intended. And I was like, well, I was banking on this. I was counting on that. How can I create what just went away? And so I was always trying to fix, adjust, change it because it wasn't perfect anymore. I had this idea that, okay, if I've got the perfect time to work out, the perfect diet, that would overcome my health issues. The days that, with my celiac, I've spent almost 6 years out of 15 in and out of bed trying to work my business. Try being perfect when you have an autoimmune disease that's like, no, you're going to be swollen today. You're going to be throwing up today. You're going to be in the bed today. You can't walk today. That will humble you. And sometimes hard things happen to teach us. They're not to hurt us. They're to teach us that we aren't in control, but that should give us comfort. I had to actually lean into that pain and lean into that discomfort to find the comfort that I'm not in control. And that was actually good. Thank the Lord I'm not in control. But I used to have all of that figured out until I realized I didn't have anything figured out. So I started.
We think we have it figured out until we realize we don't have it figured out.
Right. Like the greatest way to make the Lord laugh is to tell him your plans. That's just what I have learned. And so I really, I started looking at The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod about 5 years ago, I believe it was. And, he talks about the savers. And so you have your quiet time, which can be used for devotional time, your affirmations, your visualization. And you can do this in 10-minute increments or 30-minute increments. You can kind of pick your time frames. But every day I was very intentional, especially with that silent time, just praying and being still. And now I call it giving yourself permission to pause. Yeah. Permission to pause, which then leads to the prayer, which leads to really hearing God's whisper. When you're leaning into the silence, it allows him to take back control. So every morning I make sure I'm giving him the time to tell me what he needs from me that day, not me just deciding this is what I'm doing. And, then I would get all bent out of shape if it didn't work out because I was the one designing it.
Oh my word. You and I are so similar.
Yeah.
Where that comes because we're planners, right?
Yes.
We're planners and we're actually really good at planning. So go ahead.
Well, and I think the thing that I started discovering was that because of some of the traumas and things from my past, I had fear that I didn't know about that was hidden, and there was areas of myself that I hadn't forgiven. And so in order to keep myself in these little tight parameters where I felt good about myself, I felt like I was enough. I felt like I was right. I was in control, and you hear that you can be right or you can be happy philosophy, which that shattered everything for me. I was keeping myself in a safe space because I was afraid of change. I was afraid of being out of control. I was afraid of surrender. And that fear can put us in a place where we're trying to be safe.
Yeah.
And so when you're in control, it's usually because you're afraid. There's something that you haven't let go of, that you're afraid is going to happen if you lose control. But losing control actually allows us to be in his safety. And that was the thing that I had to get a hold of, was his safety, his understanding, his ways way better than mine. But I had to lose myself, which in in Romans chapter 8, it talks about us losing ourselves in order for him to take over. And we are killed all the day long. We make those sacrifices, but that is the price of the joy we get to have by him being in control. But he gives us the free will. So we have to choose to let go. We have to choose to be afraid and do it anyway.
Yeah, we won't be forced. We won't be forced to that. It's interesting. A couple of things that I heard as you were in that segment, you were talking about there was fear that was holding you back, right, from releasing the control. And you had said something to me before we actually started recording about you're noticing a restless fear among people, an agitation that often is rooted in fear. I want you to just tell me more about that, because what I'm hearing is that you have come face to face with your own fear and really having to decide, will I allow this to cripple me, or will I look for how I see it as the stepping stone to what is on the other side of that fear. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in this restless fear or agitation that you mentioned.
I think a lot of times it's easy for us to have faith and be happy and believing as long as we're seeing progress. I think as humans, we're like, yeah, I believe in God. I know he's for me. Everything is going good. And, but what the real test of our faith, and God is the author and finisher of our faith, which means we're always in progress, always until it's over here on earth. So in those moments, it's easy to be in faith when all the lights are green. It's easy to be in faith when, okay, the bills are getting paid, the kids are, making pretty good grades, everything's going okay. God is good. Yes. Okay. Get a really hard diagnosis, get a hard health diagnosis, lose that job that's secure, that's paid for your family to survive, lose something that you feel, is pivotal for survival. That's really when where's your faith? Is it really where it needs to be? And, I can honestly tell you there were times when things looked dire, they looked impossible. And there was a lot of tears. There was a lot of praying. There was a lot of, God, I don't know prayers. I don't understand. Help me to understand beyond my understanding. So I definitely can sit here and say that I've lost a lot of things. I've had a lot of pain. I've had a lot of hurt. But in that is where your faith is refined. That's when you really can stretch. And once you've stretched your faith, you can't shrink it back. That's one thing I do know. And we don't develop our faith in a bubble where everything's perfect. You're not testing it. You're not understanding the level of it, if I wanted to test the durability of this table right here, I'd have to hit it against something to see if it's going to break or it's not. And I think our faith is tested in that way when we're hit with hard things. And just even in the last 12 months, people have lost jobs. People have lost loved ones. People have, had children pass. I've seen so many things happen. And that faith that was there is slowly starting to become doubt and fear and how much more can I take? And this is too much. And it wears on us in a way that we haven't built that strength yet. And so we have to, again, choose, okay, I know that this is hard. How can I grow my faith? How can I strengthen it? So that goes back to my morning routine of giving God the first part of my morning. Now that I do that and I really surrender to whatever it is that he has for my day, if things cancel, if I get bad news, I have to believe that he's for me and he's at the end.
Yeah.
And so that helps to get me through. But what I'm noticing is people are starting to, they thank God for their house and then their house catches on fire. And they're looking at the flames. They're looking at it burning. They're looking at the things that they can't control going away. And instead of knowing that they're safe, they're alive, their family is alive, they're looking at what's burning.
Yeah.
They're not looking at what they do still have or what is on the other side that will be okay.
Interesting when you use the example of the house on fire and they're focused on what's burning versus the life that they still have. Because of the being saved from the fire, it reminds me where we place our focus very much determines not only what we see oftentimes then determines the feeling that we have. And, oftentimes people are allowing feeling to dictate what they do or they don't do. Mm-hmm. And so our focus really matters. And so you talked about your passion is to give hope, right? So how, because it's with the number of challenges that you've had, when I think about anytime I hear you say that in 15 years, you've spent about practically 6 of them in and out of bed, right? Because of your autoimmune and just the health challenges that you've had. How do you keep yourself focused on the right things? Your morning routine clearly is one of them. Mm-hmm. And remind yourself to have hope. I think people listening, in some ways, there's a craving for, give me steps 1, 2, and 3
Right.
on how I can have hope, right? And and of course, my heart is not to oversimplify, but I do think sometimes practical ideas are really helpful for people in cultivating hope. What would you share?
I would say you have to limit the negative that's in your environment and the negative that you allow in, the negative people in your life. What you surround yourself with is going to tell me where you're going to be in 5 years. So evaluate your friendships and your relationships. Evaluate your conversations. If you're already feeling the doubt and fear creeping in, I would go to God with that, not your girlfriends, because your girlfriends are probably going to make it worse. I always say, go to your girlfriends to celebrate, and go to God with your grief. Go to God with your doubt. Go to God with your fears, because his answer is always more beautiful than any answer your girlfriends or family or anybody's going to give you, because they're just going to put their filter on it. And then it can create, an even bigger issue. But what you pour into your brain, what you read, what you listen to, how much are you scrolling, and what is the content that you're, and it goes back to what I said about what you feed yourself. And I think it's important, in those times when I was not well and I was in the bed, it's like, okay, what can I do today? Even if it's just with the light off, with my head under my blanket, and I'm texting my customers or follow up or whatever. I just always remember the days that I feel so good physically, I want to work as much as I can and honor him for those days that I do have that health. It's like, I want to do my part. I want to contribute. God has to have efforts in order for him to do the blessings. So he wants to give us things. We just have to give him efforts. So if my effort is me under my blanket in the
doing
dark,
what you can.
I just always remember, God blesses the efforts. He can't bless our steps if we don't move our feet. So I'm like, if I can't walk, okay, how else can I move today where he can work through it? And that requires me to focus on what you can do, not think about what you can't. And be around people who are can-do people. If you're starting to feel like you go to certain networking groups or certain, women's groups even, or places where it becomes I leave and I start to feel less. If it doesn't bring me joy, if it doesn't fill my cup, question it. We have such precious time. And where we spend it is time away from another area. And so if you're leaving feeling depleted, feeling negative or worse, evaluate, well, what am I reading? Who am I around? Who am I listening to? Who am I talking to? What social media platforms am I using, and how much am I doing it? And how do I feel after? Start self-evaluation.
It's really asking yourself questions that really help you to discern, is this helping me or is this hurting me? I have to go back to something that you said, because I just think it needs to be repeated. And man, the more we can live it out, the better, which is go to God with your doubt, with your grief, with your challenges, not your girlfriends. I love how you said that our girlfriends ultimately, without even being aware, are going to place their filter on the response that they give. It is very difficult to remain objective in that scenario, whereas God is completely objective in that, because he sees all, knows all, is in all places at all times, can do all things. So he's the better source of our taking those things too. So I love that you said that. I think that also attaches to what you just said. You said, go to God. You said, even if I can't walk, how can I move? Sometimes where we're going to move most significantly is we move in our mind by going to God. That's a movement. That's a movement of our mind to go to God. And I think that's such a great visual to help people understand that, it really does matter that we're willing. And what's interesting, just to kind of begin to, my brain starts pulling these things together, that we won't go to God unless we're willing to let go of control. I mean, that self-sufficiency is, because that's something that I have to really be aware of, because I can easily drop into being self-sufficient get her done, my way or the highway is how I like to say it.
Oh, yeah.
Control people unite.
Yes.
But I have to be in a space of surrender to go to God. It truly does make a difference. So I really appreciate that. Now, the other thing that I've heard you speak on many different occasions, and you're doing it even now, is a part of who you are and how you speak. It's very evident that you take time to curate what you allow to come out of your mouth, right? What you allow to be spoken over you, right? Out of your own mouth, you're speaking over yourself. You had mentioned that there are people who are speaking out of fear, thus creating more fear. I'd like for you to just tell us more about that, what you're seeing, and then also, because I just think it's so helpful, practical ways that you have found to speak life over yourself and not words of death.
Yes. Well, and I think as humans, when we start to see any type of evidence, our mind immediately goes to what's going to happen, what's coming. We anticipate, we assume. Now, y'all have always heard that assuming is bad, and we know the different cute little ways you can say that. But we still, as humans, are trying to anticipate because our minds always want to know what's coming. Everybody has this I need to know feeling, some more than others. But we all kind of start to think we know what's going to happen. If you see evidence of something and then you think, oh, in a day or two, it's going to be this big thing. So depending on who's in your life, if they don't know how to reframe a negative thought, it may say, oh my gosh, I'm so clumsy. It's like, well, okay, let's reframe that, because then you start in your mind thinking all these other bad things, because that's just what we do. You get up a little piece of something and then you start to build a house out of it, because we try to know everything. We want to know everything. So we want to assume and sound smart. But I think what we can do is stop it right when you get that evidence. Say, okay, no, that's not my future. That's not going to happen. We have to be very intentional with not getting ourselves carried away, just because, I did my daughter's nails. We got this little gel nail kit to just try out last night. But I mean, I could look and see one little corner of my nail start to unravel and think, great, all my nails are going to fall off, right? Like henny penny. Okay. It's true. Like we can be that way if we don't allow ourselves that moment to say, no, I'm just going to buff that off and it's going to be great. What we tell ourselves, I am, what follows will chase you down. Whatever we say will chase you down. It is truth, because we're already speaking it into existence. So when you see trouble coming, when you see something that seems like it's not right, if you don't consciously start to create an alternate route, you're going to go down this bad path. And it's your own fault. I'm just going to tell you. It is because our mind is so powerful. We will create the thing we fear the most when we talk about it the most. So you have to use words to counter what you are afraid is going to happen. And that's a skill. That is a skill that takes practice. It's learning in the moment to stop yourself and say, okay, I got to reframe that. Yeah. I'm not going to gain 20 pounds at Thanksgiving. Stop it. No, during Thanksgiving, I'm going to make some better choices. And because of that, my kids are going to actually see me doing that, and they're going to make better choices. We're going to have the healthiest Thanksgiving we've ever had. Okay, it's October. We're about to start thinking about Thanksgiving in a month. What are you telling yourself? I'm going to gain 10 pounds, Elizabeth, during the holidays.
You hear it
Guess what?
Often.
Then you're giving yourself permission when the time comes to make the choice to make it true.
So powerful.
So give yourself permission to say, no, this year we're going to have a light Thanksgiving. We're going to have lots of healthy food so we can eat as much as we want, but it's going to be healthy and we're going to feel great. And afterwards, we're actually going to do a walk after dinner. I mean, what are you creating with your mouth? It's so powerful.
It's so true, because ultimately the way the brain works is neurons that fire together wire together. What you think about expands, to your point of we take this one little thing and we build a house from it, because we literally, I mean, the brain is designed to expand it. And so that's why the need to reframe thinking becomes so incredibly important. I love how you said, I am and what follows chases you down, which is so good. Consciously create an alternate route, also very good. By the way, consciously creating an alternate route, I like to say that it's important. We need something that pattern disrupts our negative line of thinking so that we can actually take an alternate route. And so sometimes it's understanding. In a sense, you were just giving an example with Thanksgiving meal, right? We decide in advance the outcome of the event, and we plan the alternate route in advance, right? And we know, because we live in the Metroplex, there's always construction, right? They don't just go and slap a road closed. They've planned a detour, right? But that was done in advance. Right. We have to do the same thing. I love that. So
yes.
before we wrap this up, I'm definitely going to have you back on, because we could have lots of conversation
yes, I
around
love
here.
that.
Let's have some fun. All right.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to, I'm just going to ask you some quick questions for some short answers around the significance of what we are saying to ourselves. All right. So when you face difficulty and you used health, and there are a lot of people who are dealing with a lot of health things, what are some I am statements that you speak over yourself to help you through the challenge of your health?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I'm like, okay, I am taking rest today so that I can be well tomorrow. I am making better choices so that this can be a short, flare up, or, I am in control of what I eat today. I am in control of how much water I have today. Tell yourself what you can be in control of, because then you get excited. Well, I'm going to go drink water. I am in control of how many phone calls I make on the couch. I am in control of delegating tasks to my kids if I can't do it, which is empowering them. I mean, they need to know how to do this stuff.
That's right.
So guess what? You're helping mommy out, and I am teaching my kids by allowing them to help me.
Love it. And what I want you to, you, the person listening, you, the person watching, to notice, I knew I could ask you that question and you would have them ready, because you're saying them to yourselves regularly. You are living it on an ongoing basis. And that's where we need to have strong I am statements that aren't just an afterthought or I know I should do it, but then we actually do not implement it. We need to be putting into practice how we are speaking about ourselves to ourselves, whether in our head or outside, through our actual verbal. So I love that. I love that you were so on the spot, as I knew you would be.
I also affirm who I attract. One other thing I love to say, I am attracting mentally healthy, emotionally stable, positive, Christ-like women who help me be better. And I say that all the time. So when I'm in the space, if that's not what I'm seeing, I know it's not for me. But you have to speak out who you want in your path, because as much as you say I am to yourself, if you're around people who say I'm not, guess what? We're like the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Well, and guess what?
And that happens.
They might be saying I am not, and if you're not careful, they'll be saying you are not.
Right.
Which then creates the fear, the insecurity, the lack of hope, the procrastination, the feeling stuck.
If she can't, I can't. And that's what we start to believe.
Right. And it's and that's really where all of this becomes such full circle. When we're willing to release surrender, when we recognize that hard things happen to help, not hurt, but they humble us, that when we choose to go to God over our girlfriends, when we choose to set our minds on things above, not on the things here that we're dealing with, and that we really allow that to inform what we speak over ourselves, it is incredibly empowering as well as impactful. And that's where I would say that you started with, you are passionate about giving hope. And as someone who is your friend and also someone who gets to observe you in the workspace, and and we're on a couple of committees together as well, that your life, your demeanor, the words that you speak, you yourself give hope. Like you are a living testament of hope, if that might be the way I would say it. So I always ask every guest, because, the podcast is called Thinking That Matters, and I love people's perspective. So I want you to share, why do you believe it's important to cultivate thinking that matters?
Everything flows from your thoughts. Whatever you're thinking, you are creating all the time.
Yes.
And your thinking can start in the front, and it can become subconscious to the point where you're going throughout your day and you don't even know that the back of your mind is manifesting a horrible thought you had years ago that you've never gotten rid of. And you're continuing to create that thing that you're afraid of because you kept thinking about it. And it's now in the back of your mind. Your mind is so powerful. You can think yourself well. You can think yourself sick. You can create all kinds of things from your mind. Your mind is in charge of all of your nerves and everything that your body can and can't do. There's so much science behind it, but just try it. Think about what you're thinking about. And I think that's where the pause comes in. If I'm having a day where, halfway through the day, this has happened, that thing has happened, and you start to have that stinking thinking of, this whole day has been shot. Okay, it's 6:00. There's still 3 good hours left in the day for good things to happen. But you've already told yourself the day is shot. You have to know, okay, I got to stop. I got to pause. I got to pray about that. And I need to know, what am I thinking about?
Yeah.
How is that going to make the last 3 hours of the day? The first hour of the day and the last hour of the day are super critical for your thinking as to how the middle of the day is going to go. And if you've already decided, side, the word side, it means kill off other options. If you think about pesticide, all those different words with side at the end, it means it's killing off other options. So when you make a decision that you're going to be positive no matter what's going on, you're going to give it to God no matter what's going on, no matter the report, no matter the bad news, no matter the sadness, grief is still a part of it, but God promises that He's with us. We can still be okay in it. But I think we have to decide that we are going to be positive. And we have to decide that, we are going to just manage whatever comes. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not promised anything, so why am I worried about it? We have to just right now decide, right now in this moment, I'm going to be present. I'm going to be excited. I'm enjoying this time with you. I don't know what's happening this afternoon, but you know what? I'm present right now, and I've decided that it's going to be good.
Oh, so good. So I want to challenge and encourage you, the listener, the viewer, decide today to cultivate thinking that matters, because when you cultivate thinking that matters, you can live a life that matters.